People always say that the hardest part of losing someone is the lack of closure. They tell you that time heals all wounds, and eventually the sharp pain dulls into a manageable ache. They're wrong. When my wife Sarah vanished without a trace exactly 1 year ago, it didn't leave an ache. It left a gaping, paranoid void. And it's not just the fact that she's gone that keeps me awake every single night at 3 a.m. It's the final text message she sent me. Before the signal died, before the local authorities swept the whole thing under the rug, and before my life turned into a waking nightmare, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Sarah. It started with 5 chilling words. Words that I hear echoing in my head every time a car drives past my window. Do not trust the sheriff. This is the story of what happened to my wife in the dense, freezing woods of Washington State, and why I'm currently recording this from a motel room 3,000 miles away, looking over my shoulder. It started like a dream. Sarah and I were exhausted by the relentless grind of Seattle. We were working 60-hour weeks, suffocated by concrete, traffic, and the endless noise of the city. We wanted an escape. We found it in a secluded cabin nestled in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. It was a rustic, beautiful property sitting on 10 acres of dense pine forest. The nearest neighbor was 3 miles away. The nearest grocery store was a 40-minute drive down winding, icy roads. To us, the isolation was the selling point. For the first 2 months, it was paradise. We chopped our own wood, drank coffee on the porch while watching the deer, and finally had time to just breathe. But as November rolled in, bringing with it the harsh, bitter Washington winter, the woods began to change. The silence went from peaceful to heavy, oppressive. It started with small things. One morning, Sarah found the heavy iron latch on the woodshed completely unhooked. We blamed the wind. A week later, I woke up to find a perfectly uniform line of footprints in the fresh snow. They started at the tree line, walked directly up to our bedroom window, paused, and then walked backward into the woods. I reported it to the local police. Sheriff Miller, a massive, quiet man with cold eyes, came out to inspect. He didn't take notes. He didn't look concerned. He just stared at the tree line, chewed his gum, and told us it was probably a drifter or a lost hunter. "Lock your doors," he said, staring at Sarah just a second too long. "It gets mighty dark out here." I should have packed our bags that very day. Fast forward to the week before Thanksgiving. A massive blizzard was forecasted to hit the Pacific Northwest, threatening to drop 3 feet of snow and sever our power lines. We needed supplies, generator fuel, canned food, batteries. I volunteered to make the drive into town. Sarah decided to stay behind. She had a cold and wanted to stay wrapped up in blankets by the fireplace. Before I left, I kissed her forehead. "Keep the doors locked," I told her, half joking. She smiled. "I've got the shotgun under the bed. Just hurry back. I don't like when you're gone." The drive to town was brutal. The snow was already falling thick, blinding white sheets that turned the winding mountain roads into a death trap. It took me over an hour just to reach the hardware store. I was standing in the checkout line when my phone buzzed. I pulled it out of my heavy winter coat. The cell reception up in the mountains was notoriously bad, so getting a text in town was a relief. But when I looked at the screen, my blood ran cold. It was a text from Sarah, but it didn't make any sense. It read, "There's a police cruiser parked at the edge of the trees. He's just sitting there in the dark." I I immediately hit dial. It rang twice before going straight to voicemail. I typed back, "Is it Miller? I'm on my way back." Lock the deadbolts. The storm was getting worse, knocking out the town's cell tower signal intermittently. I threw a $50 bill at the cashier, abandoned half my supplies, and sprinted to my truck. As I threw the truck into gear and peeled out of the parking lot, my phone buzzed one final time. It was a delayed message from Sarah. It was the last communication I would ever receive from her. The text started with those 5 chilling words. "Do not trust the sheriff. He is not in uniform. He has a key. I am hiding in the crawl space. Please hurry. I drove like a madman. I pushed my truck well past the limit, fishtailing on black ice, nearly careening over the edge of the mountain pass. The 40-minute drive took me 25. I tore up our long, unpaved driveway, the headlights cutting through the blinding snow. There was no police cruiser. There were no tire tracks other than my own, rapidly filling with fresh snow. I slammed the truck in park, grabbed the heavy mag light from my glove compartment, and kicked the front door open. "Sarah!" I screamed, my voice tearing my throat. The cabin was dead silent. The fireplace had completely burned out, leaving the house freezing. The living room was perfectly tidy. No signs of a struggle, no broken glass. I ran to the bedroom. The bed was unmade, just how I left it. I dropped to my knees and checked under the bed. The shotgun was still there, untouched. Then I remembered the text, the crawl space. Our cabin had a small subfloor crawl space used for plumbing access. The hatch was hidden beneath a rug in the hallway. I sprinted out, threw the heavy Persian rug aside, and pulled the wooden hatch open. "Sarah, it's me. It's Mark." I shined the flashlight down into the dark, dusty space. It was empty. But lying right in the center of the dirt floor was Sarah's phone. The screen was cracked. Next to it was a single heavy, mud-caked, steel-toed boot print. A boot print, far too massive to belong to my wife. Panic consumed me. I grabbed her phone. No signal. I ran to the landline in the kitchen to call 911, but the line was completely dead, snipped from the outside. Before I could process what to do next, a bright light washed across the kitchen window. A vehicle had just pulled up the driveway. I ducked below the counter. Through the window, I could see the flashing red and blue lights reflecting off the falling snow. It was a county sheriff's cruiser. I felt a surge of relief for a fraction of a second until my brain flashed back to Sarah's text. "Do not trust the sheriff. He has a key." I watched as the heavy, hulking frame of Sheriff Miller stepped out of the vehicle. But he wasn't wearing his badge. He was wearing dark, tactical hunting gear. In his right hand, he wasn't holding a standard-issue flashlight. He was holding a coil of heavy industrial zip ties. He didn't knock. He didn't announce himself. I watched in absolute horror as he casually slid a key into our deadbolt. Click. The front door opened. The heavy boots stepped onto our hardwood floor. "Mark?" Miller's voice called out. It wasn't the voice of an officer looking to help. It was a low, mocking drawl. "You home, son? Mighty terrible storm out there." I didn't think. I reacted. I slipped out the back kitchen door into the freezing blizzard wearing nothing but a light jacket, and I ran into the trees. I survived the night by breaking into a neighbor's hunting blind 3 miles away. When state troopers finally arrived the next morning, summoned by my frantic calls from a stolen ham radio, they found nothing. The cabin was empty. Sheriff Miller was sitting at his desk at the precinct, claiming he had been on duty all night. His alibi was ironclad, backed up by his deputies. The state police searched the woods for weeks. They found absolutely no trace of Sarah. When I showed them the text message, they dismissed it as a glitch or a panic-induced hallucination. They even tried to pin the disappearance on me. But I know what I saw. I know whose boot print was in that crawl space. It's been a year. I've moved across the country. I change my phone number every 3 months. But sometimes when it snows, I catch myself looking out the window, staring at the tree line. If you are listening to this and you are thinking about moving out into the middle of nowhere to escape the world, just remember one thing. When you isolate yourself from society, you aren't just getting away from the noise. You are moving far away from the people who can hear you scream, "Stay safe out there." And never ever assume the person wearing the badge is there to protect you.